Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's episode. I am Allison Kavanaugh. My co-host is Angela Adams, and we are super excited about today's episode. We have Alex Atkins. He is founder of Sturdy AI. We're going to get into what Sturdy AI does, but I think the thing that's really amazing and captivating about Alex, what you bring is this really clear-eyed perspective on what happens when leadership shifts from activities and managing activities to creating a shared focus. I really want us to
hmm
dive into that today.
hmm
Oh, so welcome, Alex.
I appreciate you. Thanks for having me on. This is very excited.
Absolutely. So let's just start with, what is Sturdy AI? What do you guys do?
Yeah, Sturdy AI was built back in 2020 to solve, I think, a rather large business problem. So what we found, it was very difficult to answer specific questions around customers, things that should be relatively easy to answer, but questions that are almost impossible to answer with yesterday's tools. And things like, who is the best CSM at keeping customers or keeping customers happy? Which of our customers asked about renewal dates, this past quarter? You let me know every time a customer leaves a specific company and goes to another company? Like, pretty standard, straightforward questions, and a lot of contextual questions as well, answering the why behind the what. And I figured that with yesterday's tools not being able to answer a lot of those pretty standard questions, there's got to be an easier way. There's got to be a better way. And that's more or less the genesis of Sturdy, taking every single customer conversation, account conversation, net new deal conversation, both to and from customers, and understanding, that the bi-directional piece of it, and then being able to analyze all of those conversations contextually to basically proactively identify risks and opportunities. So that was kind of how Sturdy got started.
It's very cool. What So, yeah, it's one thing to be a founder and to find a problem, right? It's another
hmm
thing to be a founder and figure out that this is systemic and then
hmm
frame the problem as systemic. Can you take me back to what that moment where you were like, okay, this is something worth solving at scale?
Sure. I think it kind of goes back to a lot of the folks I've spoken with too, and sort of their understanding of the role for CS or customer experience within a specific company, and understanding that a lot of those folks were usually given or handed off the blame for things like churn or customer
Mm-hmm.
frustration. Uh, Tons of times realizing that that actually had nothing to do with their role themselves, nothing that they themselves could control. So that kind of brought around this idea of, how can we analyze what is actually owned by CS, what's actually owned by sales and marketing or promises or product issues, confusion or billing or procurement issues. So there's actually so many other things that we realized that were kind of coming in and falling into this unfair sort of blame on CS to own these things that they completely did not control. And that's more or less sort of how the data started to kind of flow in. And then we realized that there's so many different signals and insights that we can pin on other groups in the company, and really allow them to have this like 360 view, holistic understanding of what's causing the issues at a specific company within their customer base, as well as their net new accounts, and then how they can, as a team, you know, make it a team sport when it comes to identifying proactively, and then of course combating that churn. So that was how it all really started and began, and that kind of got us started on the signals that we started to train at Sturdy, right? And that's more or less like, okay, so what kind of Sturdy signals do we want to build first? What do we really want to pick up on and identify contextually within a business? And that was, started pretty simple within sentiment, like, are customers happy? Are they frustrated? Are they looking to expand? Are they potentially looking to churn? Right. So some pretty basic signals, which then got a little bit more nuanced, got a little bit more unique, and a little bit more specific to certain situations and experiences within different teams. And then, of course, our own customers started telling us and providing feedback on signals that they wanted to see built and or trained. Um, and that's kind of how we started building out that library. And that was really the beginning of Sturdy, was understanding all the contextual conversation back and forth, being able to create signals to get alerted when certain things were fired, and then being able to build out the next best steps for teams. And since then, it's grown, it's expanded, it's evolved quite a bit. But that was really the beginning. That was the base, where we got started.
Makes a lot of sense. One of the things, I know we've talked about this, and I think it's worth sharing and taking a pause to share just how you guys have designed the way that you can query and ask questions
Yeah,
of the solution. So maybe like talk a little bit about that. And I'd love any insights that you have. Technology is constantly changing. LLMs have
sure,
changed the game, right? In
sure.
conversations with the way we interact. So if you can kind of bring in some of those moments where you were like, okay, let's use this, let's try this,
Yeah.
let's bring in
Yeah. Aha
this.
moments within the product itself. It's really
Yeah.
interesting because I do think that UI is there's a massive shift here from dashboards to dialogue. And that's something
Hmm.
that I've been talking about quite a bit on
I,
LinkedIn too.
I love that. I love that.
And I think it's catchy. It's nice. But I mean, it's true. How do we engage with data? How do we want to question or query our own data? Do we want to be staring at a dashboard that, might be moving a little bit to the right and up and to the right? But why? Why is it moving up and to the right? We don't really have those answers immediately clear to us if we're looking at a dashboard. So I figured, what if we had some sort of system or interface that allowed us to actually chat or talk with our own data? And to be clear, this is also intuitive in the sense that so many folks, when they think of AI, are already thinking of tools like GPT, Gemini, Grok, all of these platforms they can just basically ask a quick question, they get the feedback, right? And so, I mean, we've been doing search within traditional SEO forever. So this is kind of not new to us when we were just typing in specific queries, whether it's a short head term or a long form query. This is kind of what we're used to doing when we want to get some sort of response. So I figured why not do the same with our company data, right? So if you think about Sturdy in a nutshell, to make it very simple, it's basically like one of those tools where your accounts, net new deals, and customers are the AI you're chatting with. So that's what you're asking. Um, and so the dialogue element allows us to kind of hop in on any given day, right? And depending on what your role is at the company, ask a specific question that is unique or specific to your role. And because Sturdy kind of spans all different teams with all the signals that have been trained since day one, there are so many different questions that can be asked. And we did find that some folks found it a little difficult to understand how to prompt or how to query.
Mm-hmm.
So we built some simple buttons like to kind of get you started. But I ask Sturdy every day when I get to my desk, what should I focus on today? That's like one of the biggest questions I ask. What should I focus on today and why? What it will help what Sturdy will help me do is prioritize. It'll help me understand if there's any accounts that need to be addressed or reviewed. If there's any sort of red flags, any extreme situations, any fires that need to be put out. If there's any potential expansion, if there's any upside or accounts that actually want to follow up with me, provide a case study. I mean, these are things that I can go and ask. What top 5 ARR accounts within the customer base are most likely to provide a case study and why? Simple as that, right? And then I can get all that list with receipts, which I think is kind of cool. One thing that we noticed actually when we started talking to a lot of LLMs is that they start to hallucinate, I think is what folks really refer to it as, where they more or less create an outcome even though they might not have the knowledge or or the data to back that up. We realize at Sturdy that's not okay, especially because this is data from your customers. So we provide receipts, we provide links to every single outcome, every single result, so that you can actually click on that and go from the 10,000-foot view of what you're searching for down to the exact communication that triggered that specific signal or insight. And I think that's really cool and unique to Sturdy so that you always know whatever you're being triggered on, whatever's kind of popping up, whatever kind of insights are being thrown out, you know that you can always trace that back to the initial communication. Um, but yeah, I mean, the options are endless. We can ask any question, anything. So like, which of our top 10 ARR customers are most likely to churn this quarter and why? Which of our top 5 customers are most likely to expand this quarter and why? This week, this month. And the best part is you can always ask why. You can always get the context, which I think is so powerful. And that's something that you definitely lack when you look at a dashboard, the context. But it's so important to have. It's really, really, really quite nice to be able to do that with Sturdy.
I feel like that's exactly right. The tools that we see dying out are these old, big, bulky dashboard systems, that the data is stagnant, that you don't understand it, or you have to hire an analyst from their team to explain it to you and pay more consulting hours to get after your own data. So I love that you guys have kind of,
Yeah.
I think one of the founder secrets, if you will, is like this ability to like see around a corner. And it sounds like back in 2020, you were able to see around a corner. You were able to
Mm,
see kind of where LLMs were headed, where kind
hmm.
of old dashboards were headed in a hurry. Even though in 2020, those old dashboards were still everybody's go to, you kind
Yep.
of saw around that corner. And I think that's like the true gift or the strength of a good founder.
Yeah, it's thank you. I mean, that's incredibly kind. I'd also like to think that, when it came to these dashboards and data visualization tools, at least in 2020, they were still all the rage, right? We were able to take all this data, we were able to, basically create some sort of querying on it, be able to pull it into a visualization tool. There's a lot. You need a data scientist typically for that. You need somebody who's understanding SQL. You need somebody who's able to communicate effectively what they're looking for to see in that dashboard. And one thing I forgot to mention is that beyond Sturdy's ability to do all the things we just talked about, it can then create those visuals for you. So
Oh, that's great.
it kind of makes all of it in a way, um, yeah, obsolete. Not obsolete, that's the wrong word. But it definitely means that you don't have to have those tools anymore because you can do everything you want to do contextually, ask all the questions you want to ask, and then you can actually create some sort of visual should you want to be able to show that to somebody else. But to your point, these things are static, they're rear looking,
Mhm.
and they might be showing some movement, but it's never going to be contextual. They're never going to know why. And so being able to see around corners, see through the windshield versus the rear views, that's kind of how I used to talk about it, but exactly what you're saying. So, I mean, I think that's one of the coolest things about Sturdy. And one of the last notes is that um not only is like Sturdy analyzing all the inbound and outbound context of customer interactions, like identifying all the risks and opportunities, but it's measuring the actions taken as well to resolve specific issues. That's like a very, very key element because then it then interprets which actions actually deliver the best results. So if you think about that for a second, what does that mean? Well, it means that no matter what happens, if you and your team are starting to engage with specific accounts, specific new deals, or existing customers, Sturdy will always know which actions your team is taking that lead to the best possible results and then coach everyone else on the team to what those actions were. In a sense, it's ensuring that every single person on your team is as good
As your
as your
best.
number one, as your best rep.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
that's incredible. As you
Yeah.
look to the future, like, I mean, obviously, I think focus for a startup is key to success, especially in the beginning. You guys focused on a problem, you solved it really well, you gained your market, you gained your
Hmm.
success stories. But now you're at that point, it's kind of an inflection point for most companies. Like, great, we solved this for client success. Now, what other
Mm, mm.
challenge can we solve this for? And one of
Sure.
the largest out there is sales. What
Yes.
are
So
you looking
sales. So
for?
that's a new one for us. That's actually a new frontier for us. And to kind of talk about that for a second. So we just started working within the opportunity object, actually within, so I may have mentioned this before. To do what we have to do, we have to be able to more or less emerge and or marry all of the unstructured data and conversations that are happening with your structured data source. So whether that be, it's most likely a CRM of some sort, HubSpot, Salesforce, that's where you have all the account information, specific individuals that work within an account, right? And then you are able to say Alex from Sturdy in Salesforce is the same Alex that's talking on Slack, same Alex that's on that Zoom call, same Alex that's on that email, right? And so you're
I
able
know.
to pull all of that in. Right. And what's cool about that is then you're able to say, okay, now we can differentiate specific accounts by, ARR, by location, right? All those cool things. And then say, and then of course we can always drill it all the way down to Alex himself, whether he's working on the customer experience team, sales and marketing, billing, and procurement, product, whatever it might be. So we were able to pull in that opportunity object, which means we're now able to understand and glean some specific insights into everything that's happening before the sale ever occurs, not just existing customers, which is really cool because it opens up the doors to so many other applications. But I will say one of the greatest things. So we just released a study, a big report, and it's gone pretty viral, which is excellent. It's our third version of it, but it really points out the actual drivers of churn. And I
Mm.
may or may not have mentioned this before, but the number one biggest is 28% is product gaps. So it's not
Wow.
CS. Yes, it's product
Wow.
gaps. So it goes product gaps, 26% is customer experience, 25% sales and marketing over promising,
Hmm.
10% procurement, and then I'll have to double check what the last couple are. There's some structural churn in there, which is pretty much the inevitable churn, right? Uh,
Marketing
but yeah,
never over
20
promises. I'm just kidding. I'm
never
just
over
kidding.
promises.
Now
And it's
sales
actually
might.
the sale, yeah. Marketing never will, sales might.
Never.
Exactly. That comes from like a marketer at heart, by the way.
A
So I'm
hundred
sure you as
percent.
well. so
Take it.
so I'm just
I'm the salesperson. I'll take it. I'll take the blame here.
yes. So actually it's actually hilarious, and we can talk about this a little bit too. So one of the big signals that we started to train was called sales over promising.
Mm.
And over promising signal fires quite a bit. You'd actually find because right, you get all these things that are sold to you, and then you're in the onboarding stage, and you have like the CS team trying to help out, of the A and trying to help you out, and these things that don't exist, but you thought existed. And of course, you don't have to say over promise. This is not keyword based analysis. This is completely contextual, right? So within product, for example, there's things like feature requests, bug reports, outages, data privacy concerns, access concerns, UX friction or issues, missing integrations, all these things that are all the different signals that sort of flow into product. And those things literally attribute to 28% of all churn that we've seen, which is
Wow.
insane. And I mean, you can imagine how the CS teams feel. Like we've been saying this all along,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
There's only so much that we can actually own. So when you look at CS and CE, for example, or CX rather, you have response lag. That's another one that we've kind of developed and trained. And that's a pretty straightforward one. If you are taking too long to respond to your customers, that's response lag. And there's obviously things like frustration, response lag, unhappiness that kind of get associated with response lag. There's urgent requests, meeting declines, POC changes, there's unresponsiveness, things like that. And a lot of that is owned by CX or CS, but that again only counts for 26%. And then remember, I was talking about the marketing and sales over promising. There's like scope issues, promise features and integrations, promise start dates, and all this other stuff that gets sort of attributed to sales and marketing being oversold. But it's a really cool report. So I will share that with y'all
Yeah,
afterwards.
Yeah.
please.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
but
Yeah.
it's funny. It really is funny to see just how much other teams start to play in. And to your point earlier, that is actually where we started to build out and train more signals within realms that are outside of CX, right? So sales, product, big one. Product is a really big one. So we're definitely seeing a lot of adoption from product teams. Operations, massive. There's so many insights that you can glean on an operations team. I think one big thing that we've started to build out and understand, there's a massive use case around the amount of manual reports that get built day to day. I mean, so one thing that we were kind of like looking at the other day was like QBRs, which are like really big for a lot of CIs and a lot of sales teams. What is a QBR? Well, happens quarterly for reasons, but it takes hours to pull together. And you usually have to go to a couple different folks to kind of pull in all the relevant information. A lot of it's opinion based. So what if we were to take that QBR and build it ourselves within Sturdy, but make sure it's 100% objective from the unsolicited, unbiased voice of the customer, and then be able to basically pump that out with all of the receipts, as I mentioned before, within 10 seconds? Would that not be able to provide value to folks that are spending hours building these things every month or every quarter, right? So these are a couple other use cases, not just for like CX or CS, that we've started to really start to focus on as far as marketing goes, and kind
Yeah.
of branching out to other teams.
I love
The
that.
the thing that is always the first time I talked to you, the thing that stuck with me is this idea of like pointing everybody toward the problem. And like
Sure.
I think we talked about, the Spider-Man meme where everybody's pointing at each other, right,
Yes.
which is
Yes.
like
Yeah.
which generally speaking, like you walk into an organization and you can feel that culture. It's like,
Yeah.
no, 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 this is a product problem. No, CS
Hmm.
is not doing their job, et cetera, et cetera, et
Right.
cetera. what you guys are providing is this, like, you are forcing the organization to point toward the problem.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I would love, like, that in and of itself, it's got to be a phenomenal journey. What is that like? Like, how do you guys experience that? What does that feel like when you walk into an organization?
Yeah. No, it's an aha. And there's usually some profanity around holy can't believe this is what's actually happening right now. It's a beautiful thing when you are able to pull out the sort of like this objective reason behind what is happening with no opinions. And opinions cause so many issues. Everyone has one, right? Of course. And depending on what TV you're on, obviously it's not your fault. Um, but I will say, like, being able to generate very objective answers within seconds with the receipts included allow teams to kind of take that 360 view of an issue and then work towards it together, which is something we talked about before, because you're pointing at the issue itself, not at each other. And so it makes retention a team sport, right? And I think that's really, really important.
Um,
Um,
retention
because it's
Yep.
yeah. So that's kind of like, and I played a lot of sports growing up. So it's like, oh, it's a team sport. But I mean, there's so many different ways to kind of put it. But yeah, no, I mean, it really, it's really important that you're able to culturally adopt this mentality where it's like, we get that answer clearly in seconds. We know how to go best fix it together versus the Spider-Man meme, right? Because that happens so much and it's happened forever. Like
Yeah.
I'm in marketing. The amount of times I've pointed at sales and sales is pointed right back at me.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. And Angela, I'm not pointing at you, but like, yeah, I mean, like this has happened. Sales and marketing have done this forever. This is literally our thing. Product as well, like pointing at product, like product. Exactly. This is what I'm saying. So,
This
if
is
I was able to understand,
right here. With client success, me as sales, we've got marketing.
yes,
We're all
Right. Right.
nope. But with starting, you can say, hey, listen, like full stop. What are the top 5 frustrations within our top customer, 10 customers? What are those frustrations and what's causing them and how can we best fix them? Not only are you going to get the exact frustrations, but all the communications that led to those frustrations, whatever signals are firing, then you're going to know as a team exactly what the next best steps are to go fix those, ameliorate those in the future as a team, rather as sort of a department or by yourself. So I think that's a really cool, unique step towards team solving versus like, just departmental, you know, arguing. So anyways, yeah,
No,
that's
it's
definitely an outcome.
that is it's really cool. Alex, I think your leadership, the passion, everything, it's just remarkable. It just it's energizing. I
It's
know every time
fun.
I talk to you, I have like this, just get this energy bolt. It's
love
like
it.
drinking a Red Bull.
Good.
I
Well,
get
I've been drinking some coffee over here too. So I mean that might be showing a little bit. Yeah, no, I'm pretty hyped. But no, that I just love talking about it. It's a lot of
yeah,
fun. And it's gotten so much positive feedback. And as I mentioned, so many folks unable to kind of keep it PC when they start to tell me how much they love it, which is just like gets me go. My background on my desktop every morning when I open it up is one of those non so PC
right,
quotes that somebody said to me, and I just get so excited by it. It's such a genuine reaction to like, oh my,
right, right,
damn.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So,
That's
anyways, yeah,
amazing.
it's a good
It's your
time.
own
Yeah, it's good.
sentiment analysis. You're like, how
Yes,
many
exactly,
explicatives did you
exactly.
use in a positive
Yeah,
framing?
yeah,
I
yeah,
love it.
yeah,
I
yeah,
freaking love
exactly,
it.
exactly. So yeah, no, you got it.
There's never enough time. There's never enough
I
time.
know, I know, I know.
But I do want to, thank you so much for being on the
Appreciate y'all.
podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I want to thank everybody for listening. The requisite follow, rate, share this episode, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. And Alex, we can't wait to revisit and see where the rest of your journey goes.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks, y'all. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.